to have you with us. I'm quite excited about this webinar. She started to be a bit of a new habit for us. Is the slide on already, or is it just my face right now? Oh, nice. Just got a thumbs up from Kat. This is always brilliant. Well, I think we're expecting a couple more people. Maybe just give it another half minute or so before we continue. See his picture in the background, the beautiful stack. Every single time I'm running one of those, it's kind of not where it's supposed to be, so I have to correct it. We need to figure out a long-term solution for this. It keeps confusing me. Yeah. Nice. Well, cool. Just a quick intro. I mean, when we looked at different topics, we've been through security in the past. We've been through vertical specific topics like a common data environment for the construction companies, and we figured because the majority of our clients are SMEs, and technology still is kind of on the verge of becoming more and more important, we figured we should probably do a session on, well, make the most use of it, and came up with this really catchy topic of how to give your business a boost, right? When we started doing our research, we found a couple of really cool success stories, and one of them is actually internally as well. So I'm going to talk about this later. But before we have a look at the agenda, I'm not sure who of you is familiar with us. That's why we're going to run a quick introduction. We're an IT company. I don't think this comes as a big surprise to anyone. And as you can see, we're pretty awesome. We're one at all. No, but the idea behind our business is to make technology work for any business. And we do this with a person, or well, with person first approach, right? There's no use for high-end technology if the people don't know how to use it in the end. We just make sure that it works out. On today's call, we are, well, you have me. I'm Juri Weidenkeller, the head of business development at IQ and IT. Katrina Damkova, the managing director, is coming in later as well to present on a very specific use case that we built for one of our clients. And Damien will be ready for us for the Q&A later as well. Let's have a look at what we have prepared, right? So one of the few challenges, or one of the major challenges we've seen over the last 18 months, I don't think this is a big surprise, is making sense of the remote work environment nowadays. And I will lead into this with like 4 subtopics, if you like, building up towards our internal example of how we try to make more sense and better use of our internal resources and kind of provide a better service for our clients, which is the first real life example, our new ticketing and CRM system, followed by Katrina presenting on another real life example. As mentioned before, Damien and her worked out a pretty neat workflow automation for one of our clients. And the last bit before we jump into the Q&A will be a very great success story, actually. It started off with, well, right before the pandemic, actually, with the fear of having to work from home and insecured virtual private networks and things like this, and ended up in a very successful cloud migration. It's pretty awesome. Just a few housekeeping rules as well. This session is being recorded, and as you can see on the slide, I'm pretty sure everybody can read. There's a Q&A section at the very end. If you have any questions in the meantime and you're afraid to forget them or whatnot, just type away now, but we will answer them towards the end of this webinar. So yeah, let's dive right into. Yeah, as mentioned before, I'm pretty sure that I'm not the first person to talk to you about the pandemic and what it means for SMEs. So technology success provider, the biggest challenge that we've seen over the last 18 months or so, started with a high level of insecurity, which just caused a massive disruption in the way people do business, right? So starting from communication issues all the way to unreliable network and lack of access to business critical systems. The range of problems seemed, well, for the lack of a better word, seemed pretty endless actually. And lucky for us and lucky for everybody, SMEs are a tough bunch. And I've got to say, and we're finally on a good path to close off the year in an almost pre-COVID fashion. But this part of the webinar, as mentioned in the intro, will focus on 4 areas that all SMEs had to evaluate or are still evaluating, which are connectivity, cloud, collaboration, and security. And while none of them seem to be particularly out of the ordinary in an office environment, they suddenly become interesting and worth reevaluating in today's hybrid work kind of from anywhere era. Now, initially we had like some sort of hardware shortage with everybody buying laptops and people trying to make a quick buck on some shady e-commerce stores. But now that we all have laptops, for example, the next step is to think about how to put those new pieces of tech into good work, right? Before we dive deeper into the webinar, just a quick word on why we even bother to talk about this, given that everybody's going back to normal soon, right? So reality is, the truth is that nobody knows what the new normal is going to look like. There are a couple of very influential voices on LinkedIn, for example, claiming that only very ambitious individuals want to return to the offices, and on the other hand, lots and lots of people moved into rural areas. I did this. I moved out of the city as soon as as soon as the pandemic kind of started, and I don't see myself going back. And if I had to go back to the office, that would mean an extensive commute. So I pretty much had to decide to take any sort of other job where I have to commute for like hours every single day, or do I stand where I am basically, and then kind of rather convince my boss to let me work from home every once in a while. So yeah, in general, companies of no matter what size need to acknowledge this and have to come up with a plan for different scenarios, because in my opinion, and I think most of you will agree, a company is only as good as its employees. On the last note, digital transformation is a huge, huge opportunity that promises happier customers, less stress, and more revenue. So yeah, let's have a look, and you can make up your own mind afterwards. Connectivity for the purpose of this slide is simply the state of being connected or interconnected. It's really hard to achieve anything without talking to each other or be able to exchange information with not only your colleagues, but I don't know, your business partners, your prospects, your customers, and that's not all. Another thing, a real life example, have you ever abandoned a quote while online shopping because the homepage took too long to load, right? I certainly have, not only once. And the thing is, I went on right back to my Google search and ordered from a direct competitor of this company that I originally wanted to buy from. There's also a good chance that I ordered from this competitor again in the future afterwards, and until their homepage is giving me troubles, I'm not going to change. So there's a practical reason with financial implications behind IT operations. It's not just a cost or nice to have. Keep that in mind when you look at your setup. So when we evaluate phones, email systems, internet connection, don't forget your backend systems. We're all used to mobile phones nowadays, but they come with some disadvantages. It's not completely impossible, but significantly harder to manage traffic over SIM cards compared to a voice over IP system, for example. Forwarding is not as streamlined as it is over voice over IP. And lastly, you don't have control over numbers or extensions. If you want true price transparency, memorable numbers, forwarding rules, and the ability to record phone calls for, this nice little buzz in the beginning of a support call, we're recording for training or quality assurance reasons. If you want all of this, have a look at VoIP, voice over IP systems, or VoIP for short. You will face a choice between hosted or on-premise systems, and I'd highly recommend hosted. So they will be run or they will be hosted in the cloud by the provider. And that means to you that you won't have to deal with hardware, software updates. And if you're not familiar with VoIP systems at all, which nobody really is, make sure that your provider offers help with the implementation and provides training as well. So any system is only as good as its utilization. The next big thing, in my opinion, is to look into what is your homepage, right? So you will face the same choice again. Do you want to host it in your office or run it on your own hardware? And do you want to ensure, do you want to outsource it to a cloud provider, or do you want to work with a private company that, well, runs their own small data center, for example? And most providers will let you know where your data is stored, what their failover strategy is, and how much traffic they can handle. If you want additional information on data governance, GDPR is a really good place to start, as it regulates pretty much everything related to the utilization and protection of personal data within the UK. And if you, if you expand your business to the rest of Europe as well. Whether you host yourself or through a third-party provider, the same rules apply. Your business needs to be compliant with data regulations. Which leads us to the next point. Disaster recovery becomes crucial when the system has been compromised, either by natural disaster, human error, or malicious activity. And in this case, you and the hosting provider should be ready to quickly recover to ensure business continuity, or at least have a failover strategy in the meantime. Think about your requirements, what systems you rely on, and then ask yourself, like, how long can your business afford to run without them? The idea for this slide was to give you an idea of what will stay important no matter which path of turn in terms of work environment you go for. In pretty much any case, you'll always need a reliable telephony system and a homepage. In this section, we're going to rip apart a couple of myths about the cloud. So it seems like the word cloud itself became a fancy expression for when people don't know where the data is. So yeah, oh yeah, you know, we have everything in the cloud. The cloud is awesome. And it used to be a little bit simpler than it is nowadays. So all your data was on a server in your office, running everything that you needed to run your business. It was guarded by firewalls, so additional protection, virtual private networks, just in case you needed to have access to the data on the run, and virtual network monitoring tools and things like this. And today, this classical setup would not only be extremely impractical, but had a heck lot more expensive than it needs to be. So the introduction of cloud-hosted systems not only offers flexibility regarding the type of software you need, but also lowers the total cost of ownership, which leads us to the first myth, basically. Cloud systems are always cheap or cheaper. And the reality is they sure can be, but compared to what, right? So if you want to decrease the operational cost without putting forward too much capital investment, you need to know what you're getting yourself into. So boosting your business by outsourcing your computational power looks great on paper, but the systems need to fit their purpose. Otherwise, they won't perform as planned or just cost a fortune, right? So oversizing, undersizing plays a crucial role in this evaluation process. And here's the second myth. So the cloud is safe no matter what, right? We have this big magical computer that is impeccably protected and it's just sitting there waiting for you to use it. Fortunately, it's utter nonsense, and make no mistake that the cloud can be as or even more secure than what businesses used to run in their offices. But, and this is a really big but, it isn't just safe by itself. If you want to boost your business with cloud systems, make sure you implement the right security to ensure that it stays online and keeps providing the services that you need it to provide. And because good things come in threes, here's the next myth. It'll take ages to do things in the cloud because it's so far away, right? It sure is far away. Microsoft data centers, for example, they're all over the place and absolutely not in your garden, right? Nonetheless, they have the fastest connectivity, connections to the internet money can buy, and their latency is nothing compared to what the average broadband connection from companies like BT or Virgin gives you. And there's another benefit to it as well. So imagine if you and your teams are the only people who need the systems in a central environment to be accessed remotely. You could host them yourselves, right? If you have a team of like 50 people and everybody lives in Kingston, you could run your own infrastructure in a Kingston-based office and it should be fine. But the minute you have a team in a different country, latency does become an issue. And the same applies to hosted websites. So coming back to my shipping story on the previous slide, if you operate internationally, but only host in the UK, a potential client in the US or Australia will wait much, much longer for their web page to load. So in general, when you decide to improve your ops with the migration to the cloud, keep your business outcomes in mind. Start with an old school mind map and list out what you want to achieve. So, for example, is it an occasional function that you want to perform twice a week? Or are you looking to running an application 24/7, right? So, and the next thing is, what is your budget? Think about project work. Think about how long it will take to migrate. Think about lost productivity while everybody's migrating, and so the basically the initial investment, and then how much money will it take you to run whatever you plan to run, plus how much money will your teams need to actually maintain the systems. And the last thing you always should keep in mind is, when do you want to achieve the business outcomes that you had in mind, and how are you going to measure success? So this all should contribute to a great specification sheet. Really, it's just project management 101, and the specific specification sheet, sorry about that, you can use to track progress and measure success with it. So when we evaluate a new tool internally at IQ and IT, or a new approach to operations, this is exactly the process that we follow, because this way decisions can be made based on desired business outcomes rather than just personal preferences, or maybe just a quick fix because we got annoyed with one of the tools we had in the past. And we achieve those things in a very timely manner and on budget, typically, not perfect. And I will show you what I mean in our latest use case, actually, on one of the few slides that I've prepared for you later. So there are two more points left before I explain what changes we've made to accommodate the hybrid work environment so far, and what allowed us to do exactly that. But before we go into this direction, let me ask you this. Who of you has changed systems or software from one platform to another because not everybody was on board, or not using the tool correctly, working with it effectively, right? So this question is a tricky one, because on one hand, this new shiny tool promised to solve 99 of your 101 problems, but instead it probably ended up causing 50 more, because, well, some of the teams are not using it correctly or not as intended, right? So just to give you an idea what I mean, in my old company, we had this really cool sales enablement platform called Seismic. It's basically a huge content vault that links into mailboxes and the customer relationship management system. And it even has some clever AI to suggest relevant documents to send to prospects and stakeholders depending on opportunity stage, right? This is just a quick intro. It will send a generic overview. This is something specific. I used to sell cybersecurity software, basically. And if it came down to, if I wrote down in my CRM that it comes down to pricing, for example, this system would suggest an automatic comparison, competitive overview, if you like. And the idea was that it is designed, or it's meant to be, a massive time saver. I was an account manager, and I used to look after something between 150 and up to 400 different IT support companies in the UK. I personally love the platform because I like to try out things and test it and see if it works for me and for my purposes. And it did save me time, but the overall adoption rate was extremely low. So virtually nobody used it. I had like 2 other colleagues out of, I don't know, 20 or so in the office who used to play around with it as well, and the rest just completely ignored it. And the problem was not that nobody knew what to make out of it. It was a bit too complex to get the hangs of it in just a few minutes. Not the most complex situation, but you know, people tend to ignore or stop trying when they're not good at something right away, right? And I think this is what led to a lot of my colleagues just losing interest in the first place. So they'd much rather continue to work in the old way, download the same content and attach it to emails, because they never got enough training for the new platform. And there are a couple of ways to avoid exactly this scenario where you buy a tool, spend money on the implementation, spend money on the licensing, whatnot, just to see that your team is not using it at all. So the first tip would be involve more people in the evaluation process. Simple as that. Of course, it's feasible to involve everybody. If you run an organization and you need a new tool for like 50 people in your company, right? It makes no sense to have 50 people on every single discussion with the potential sales rep. But if you develop internal champions from the get-go, right? If you involve your ops director or your sales manager or God knows what, whatever tool you want to buy, right? They get the hangs of the platform, of the new tool, of the new software, and then can later on train their teams and other members of staff. So the new system will produce better results much quicker. Second tip is make sure those champions actually train their teams. Just stay on top of it, basically. Tip number 3 would be don't keep systems that you don't need. If you find a better solution that is, let's say, 95% perfect, don't keep the old system because it does the 5%. Just a waste of money, and it's probably easier to get used to the new tool with all the new cool benefits than keeping both systems alive and kind of try to integrate them into each other. The key is to only maintain legacy systems if they are needed. I don't know any business owners who sit on a pile of cash that they need to burn through anyway, right? Reevaluate your tech stack every 6 months or so and just make rational decisions based on the desired business outcomes. Number 4, buy systems that make your life easier. I appreciate that finding useful tech can be time-consuming tasks, especially when more than 1 or 2 people are involved. But if you can save every employee 10 minutes a day with some automation, it'd be worth your money and keep your employees sane as well. All of this leads us to the topic of collaboration. How often do you ask your teams if they face any roadblocks within their systems? What would it mean to your business if you could improve this scenario? This is an ever-evolving process, and because staying on top of that will benefit your business massively, you should definitely have a look every once in a while. With collaboration, I don't only mean things like file sharing or an Excel sheet with accounting data for the finance people to go through. The reality is that your clients want to be part of whatever service you provide to them, and they expect to stay informed in near real time. So one simple but highly effective way to do that is with regular newsletters or informative update emails. This can be automated, and there are different tools for that. So Seismic, for example, is one of them. So boosting your business can mean that you become more transparent, or at least have all the information about your clients in one place. HubSpot has a free CRM tool that you can use. It allows for up to 1 million contacts per free user without the need to upgrade to their paid version. Have a look for yourself after the session. There's another plus side to gathering information. So a while back, I had the pleasure of hosting a webinar about the technological future in property development together with Autodesk. They provide computer-aided design tools for all sorts of industries and recently introduced what they call a common data environment. What that means is that information exchange happens through one platform, and this platform then analyzes data and predicts project developments and their influence on time and budget. It's a whole new level of making use of great tech, because everybody working within this one environment is kept on the same page. So long story short, you can boost your business by enabling your teams to collaborate through clever systems and even use this information to make informed decisions based on timeframes, budget forecasts, and stakeholder engagement. Nice. So I think everybody would be disappointed if the business development person of an IT company wouldn't talk about security, right? So let's just agree that this will happen no matter what. Cybersecurity is playing an increasingly more important role in today's hybrid work from anywhere era. You've all heard the horror stories of expensive downtime, cyber extortion in the form of crypto lockers, or even identity fraud, right? So the consequences can be devastating, ranging from financial and reputational losses all the way to legal disputes and potentially even losing companies. So these statistics vary a little depending on company size and location, but the trend is always the same. Companies won't survive forever if they are not protecting their data and their systems go down. So imagine an e-commerce organization without a homepage. Sounds a bit silly, doesn't it? So something like Amazon without internet is a bit pointless. And to be fair, this is not the best example because Amazon cloud services are very close to indestructible. And so are Google platforms and Azure, so Microsoft's cloud. They guarantee uptime and make sure they can that you can run your applications in their infrastructure. But, and again, a very big but, without an exception, all cloud providers operate on the basis of a so-called shared responsibility model. They give you access to their platform, they give you access to the hardware, software, provide a proper internet connection, so connectivity is not an issue. But what you do with it is pretty much your problem. The classic example for me is always a malicious email that spreads through your Outlook over to SharePoint and encrypts all hosted data. There's no way that Microsoft will take the blame for it or even help you get your data back because it falls under your responsibility to protect it. Same thing applies when someone deletes files, either on purpose or not, right? So we've recently done a series of blog articles about bring your own device security, home networks, and how to secure them with proper passwords. It's really not rocket science. Even for my non-techie brain, it was relatively easy to comprehend. So when you're happy with your staff to use their own devices, for example, and mix private and professional use of laptops at home and in the office, make sure to deploy antivirus software and monitoring tools onto them. This should keep the most obvious threats out. So Microsoft Office Business Premium also comes with a really good email protection called Defender, which can be configured in the Defender portal. This is where you go to configure anti-malware, anti-spam, anti-phishing, and to set up safe links as well as safe attachments. Then the next step is to restrict what users can do within your business applications on their mobile devices. As annoying as it is, but I can't copy anything to or from Teams or Outlook on my phone as an example. Plus side is, it also stops any other app to do the same. So even if I ruined my iPhone, it would not automatically distribute whatever I got myself into via email or Teams. The next suggestion aims at home network security. Change your router password. And by that, I don't mean the network code that you type in to connect your phone or laptop to the internet, but the admin password for your router. So all routers have almost like a hidden menu, if you like, that allows the user to configure network names, set up a guest network, and change passwords as well as encryption methods and so on. With access to that, a bad actor gains access to everything connected to that router. So network attached storages, laptops, phones, PlayStation, smart gadgets. I mean, I personally like the idea that my smart fridge randomly pours vodka into my orange juice in the morning, but realistically it shouldn't do that, right? That leads us perfectly, almost perfectly, to the second and to last thing before jumping into the real world of business boosters, passwords. So what a topic I hear saying, right? So 100% nailed that one. Please search for the 100 most common passwords in 2021 later on Google or right now on your phone, and make sure that the passwords that you use aren't on that list. Don't use names, don't use birth dates or common addresses with a lame combination of numbers at the very end. So Kingston 1988 is not a good password. Ideally, you wouldn't want to use any words, but there's a way around using completely random characters and numbers. So take forward, let's say horse, boat, trousers, keyboard, add a special character like a dot, question mark, whatever. If you must, and a random 2-digit number. This combination would take a normal computer about 10 to the power of 38 years to hack with simple brute force, or in other words, you're pretty much safe. So just take it easy after that. If you rely on countless different platforms and don't want to randomly put together combinations of words, use a password manager. We use Bitwarden internally, works like a charm. And what these tools do have in common is they generate your login credentials whenever you register to a new platform and give you a great password. So they then go out and save the password in a digital vault, if you like, in a highly secure system with multiple layers of security and failover systems. So it's fair to say that those credentials are better protected than with a sticky note under your keyboard that you normally have. You hold the master password, which makes sense because you still want to use the password vault, but you would also use two or even multi-factor authentication to log in. Lastly, on that note, enable two or multi-factor authentication wherever possible. That's it about security. Hope you understand that boosting your business sometimes means that you have to protect it and keep your intellectual property sound and safe. So here it is, finally. Our real life example, basically, from our internal operations. We recently implemented a new ticketing and customer relationship management system, and it's pretty awesome, not gonna lie. So we started to look around initially because the old system had a couple of flaws. It was not terrible. It's definitely not the worst tool that anybody has ever used, but it was also far from perfect. So following our mind map approach, the tech side and the business development side sat together and came up with kind of a wish list, if you like. This wish list was then categorized in must-haves, great to haves, good to haves, please don't haves, in order to build a priority list. And the list included things like voice recognition for transcripting, right? Or more variable ticket categories, Outlook integration, customizable emails, IT project management, a couple of other things, but I think you get the idea. And the evaluation process itself took us about half a year because there were many points that we needed to evaluate. But in the end, we settled for a system that combines a customer relationship management tool, ticketing, and integrates really well with our voice over IP systems, emails, and offers plenty of automation. So we basically, our support staff, we live and breathe in these systems, and our customers rely on its functionality as well, because they want to stay informed about the services that we provide. And every once in a while, we even need information back in order for us to be able to provide those services. So benefits for us are that we now have an easy to use common data environment that talks to Microsoft Office and its security features. It is hosted on our private cloud for easy access from anywhere and has all the bells and whistles, so we need to serve our clients better and quicker. It integrates well with our online documentation and remote management and monitoring tool, which reports unusual behavior as well as machine health. As an example, in the past, when a client called in to report an issue, our frontline engineer would have to find the contact in the CRM, start a ticket, manually type what the client had to say, then start the troubleshooting via remote session or pass in onto second line if the problem was a bit too complex. Once the ticket was completed, an email would go out automatically to explain that the ticket has now been closed and ask for a rating, and so on and so on. Now with this new awesome platform, because the tool is linked to our VoIP systems, the frontline team knows who's calling before they answer the phone. Ticket is open. The second our customer says hello, and both parties can go into troubleshoot without any interruptions. Once everything is worked off, the feedback email comes from our new system rather than a third party and provides us valuable insights about client satisfaction and performance. So we now have a timestamp for every client interaction and a satisfaction score plus all the device performance metrics. What that means is that we know why a problem occurred, when it occurred, how long it took us to resolve it, and how happy our client was with the service. So we can use this information to recommend, let's say, new hardware, or recommend different software long-term to make sure our clients stay happy with our service. We also know our direct and indirect cost of service delivery, because it correlates with the time it takes for us to work through all kinds of different issues. And in addition to the above, we will also know who great clients are, will be, and can optimize our go-to-market strategy accordingly. So our business development team gained a lot of visibility into the full sales cycle, and the transition from prospect to customer will be much easier moving forward. We are basically boosting our business by using the information that we couldn't use before. Arguably, the most important thing is to benefit for our clients. They get a better and quicker service and gain lots of visibility. So now there's a portal that shows progress, for example, on different tickets and progresses, monthly reporting on security and their spend with us, and the communications with our teams. So yeah, that's pretty much all from me now. In the next bit, Kat is showing you a wonderful example of how to make great use of automation. You ready, Kat?
Yes, I am. So welcome, everyone. Nice to have so many people joining in and wondering what the Boost Your Business session's about. So our sort of primary goal with our clients is not only to provide them excellent support, but also help them with their day-to-day business, and we help them implement automation. So I'll just share my screen so you can see my screen. So here I have a Power Automate screenshot, which I've taken earlier this morning. So this is an example of a flow which I have put in together within a couple of minutes. And this is the sort of, I think, eye-opening of for people who haven't seen this before, is being able to just go into Flow through sort of office.com, go into My Flows or Create Flow, or you even have a whole load of templates already there ready for you to use. But this one is something I have done a while back, which reminds me how or sort of reminds me of my meetings. And you would think, okay, well, you get the standard 15 minutes reminder in Outlook. Well, I kept missing that, and I kept missing my appointment, especially when we moved into doing online events. I needed something which would be different than all the other reminders on my computer. And I'm sure everyone can realizes how much noise there is coming from different platforms and different notifications and applications on your phone. So this basically goes and looks into my calendar and picks up on any meetings coming up. And then I've decided that what I need is a half an hour before a meeting. So if I need to prepare for the meeting, or if I need to physically get to the meeting, unless it's quite far away, half an hour should be fine for me to get there. And then another 5 minutes reminder if it's an online meeting and I didn't need to prepare for it, then I just get a reminder 5 minutes before so I can get ready and join in. And this feeds directly into my mobile phone because I needed something completely different. It has a completely different sound, and it just reminds me 30 minutes and then 5 minutes before. And it's just been working really well, getting me to be on time most of the time. The other example I'll go through is what Damien has been working on for one of our clients, and that is a holiday booking system. So it has been created with Flow, and this is an example where it sort of feeds into Teams, and you can see that a holiday request has come in, it pops up, and a manager has the option to approve, reject, follow up, or cancel the request, or put in sort of comments, that sort of stuff. So it's nice. It comes into sort of central platform, and many companies, most of their sort of processes and communication evolves around Teams. So it's a great way. It also feeds into Outlook as an email, so it could be approved via Outlook if people prefer to work that way. The next one is an example of what it looks like online requesting holiday. So you select the start date, start time, end date, and end time. So it allows for booking not only days but hours, because sometimes you just need to pop into a dentist for 2 hours. You don't really need to take an entire day off. So it gives the flexibility for the individual to just take a couple of hours off and get the dentist or a doctor's appointment done. So the next part is what it looks like in SharePoint. So we have created this booking page. We have also created a little video for the users to see how they can add in their iCalendar, and also they can see what their upcoming holidays are. They can click on the request holidays. They can click on the holiday remaining checker and approve the holiday approved holiday cancellation. So if the holiday gets cancelled or they get COVID and they can't travel, they can cancel it and work from home instead. The next slide is a view of Power Automate, where it's showing your holiday request being approved with the details. It includes the holiday ID and a button to cancel the holiday from here as well. So again, a lot of flexibilities and options there. The next part is a view of how it comes in via email. So this is an example of a cancellation, confirming that the holiday has been cancelled and the remaining amount of holiday left for the individual. And again, it updates here in Teams saying holiday request has been cancelled. Okay, that's cancellation. So this is a screenshot of sort of where it goes to. If you click on the button, it fills in the ID and you submit to cancel the holiday. And that is the last slide. So go back in here. So if we look at the sort of screenshot again, how you get to it in Office 365, you have these 3x3 buttons. So you click on that and you'll see the sort of all the options for Office 365, and one of them is Flow. So I would recommend for you to go in and have a play and see how easy it is to create some quick automation and make your life easier. And obviously for more complex ones, you know, we are here to help. I think what is probably best is if we get Damien to tell us a little bit more about what goes in the background of it and all the logic in there behind it. And please feel free to ask any questions. So I'll just hand over to Damien. Just give me 1 second. Okay, Damien. So do you want to tell us a bit more about how it works in the background?
Yeah, sure. I'll go through it. I'll share my screen as well, so I can give people can see like a glimpse of the flow. So I'll just go with the screen and I'll just move everything over there. So the way it works is very straightforward in terms of a user perspective, but behind the scenes, it's a pretty large flow that's been designed for this with a lot of conditions, a lot of thinking behind it, just to make sure that everything is taken into account. So if I start off with like the basic stuff would be like when this holiday booking needs to be set up, like it needs to be given information. So, for example, it will need like the employees' working hours, like what they're working, how many hours they're doing each day. So if they start like at 9, finish at 5, that needs to be inputted. If they get lunchtime, then that needs to be inputted as well. If they get a half an hour. So the holiday booking system knows. So if they take off Monday, they know that that day they're working from 9 to 5 with an hour lunch. So that it will take into account the number of hours to basically book them off for. And then it's just a matter of when someone requests a holiday, what the flow does is it takes into consideration what days to take into account and not take into account. So like bank holidays wouldn't be taken into account, and non-working days would be taken into account. So in most cases in our country, pretty much people work Monday to Friday, so Saturday, Sundays would have been taken into consideration. But if you're working part-time, you might only be working Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it wouldn't take into account Thursdays and Fridays, and then everything, all of that pretty much needs to be defined within the initial setup. And then after that, what the flow does the rest in terms of going in, fetching the employee data, and then pretty much calculate and doing a lot of mathematical calculations to come out with the total hours that they're requesting for. And then in terms of additional features that this flow does is it has the capability of checking if there's like any pre-approved holidays for those specific period. So let's say if I book next week off and one of my colleagues also booked next week off, the approver will be able to, the approver will be notified saying, just to let you know, you have approved someone else's holiday for the exact same time. So you might want to take that into consideration. So that's like a pretty nifty, pretty cool feature that is available. And then in terms of the, when a holiday gets approved, it generates its own holiday ID, which makes it like very straightforward for the employees to cancel their holiday if they wanted to, instead of like having to email the manager, or just pretty much makes it straightforward. Just a single piece of text that can be just copied and pasted into the cancellation form. Other than that, that's pretty much the straightforward stuff. Just on the other side, just been working on like a little Power App that's also part of the Microsoft's Power Platform, where just pretty much making it more user-friendly for employees to be able to see their holiday bookings. And then there's like an example that you can see. So here you can see the approved list, just like you saw on SharePoint around here on the right. And then it's got some hyperlinks where you can just book your holiday by just pressing the plus, and then just it should take you to the form where Kat was showing earlier on with the screenshot of how you can book it. And just here as well, it's just the start time and the end time. You can probably see that it's not compulsory because I've made it that if you leave it blank, the system will assume that you're trying to book off the whole day instead of booking off specific hours. So this is the flow also recognizes that as well within its conditions that I've set up. So that's pretty much like the fundamentals behind it. But if there's anyone who's got any questions for regarding this, or if there's something that they want to find out a bit more about it, I'm more than welcome to taking questions.
Brilliant, thank you, Damien. Do you want to also just give us a quick details on the other flow you have been working on for?
Oh yeah,
online meeting booking.
Okay, yeah. So Microsoft offers a booking system where you can set up staffs and services for your clients or customers to basically book themselves in. So it's like an automated service. So for one of our clients, what they wanted was some automation with the venue booking side of things. So if a client books an appointment, it basically runs an algorithm where it checks if their primary room is available for booking, and if that is available, then it will book it. If not, then it will check the secondary room, and then if that's available, then it will book that. If that is not available, then it will send out an email to one of the admin team to basically inform them there's no rooms available and you have a client coming in, which would allow them to pretty much arrange something for it. And the way that works is pretty much when an event gets booked, what it does is like the date and the time will be obviously the input, and then it would check if there's any bookings made for the exact same date. And if that is the case, then it would go into more depth into looking into, what time are those other appointments booked for, and then it will compare that, saying to see if there's any clashes. If there's no clashes, obviously it will just book it. So it's just like pretty much just logic's pretty much set up to just to pretty much be to see if the booking room's available to pretty much book it. But yeah, it's a lot of mathematical equations inside it. It's a lot of algebra just to figure out the math side of things. But yeah, it took a bit of time, a bit of headache as well. But at the end, we got it working. So that's what matters the most.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Damien. We do not have any questions as of yet. So thank you very much. I hope that it has been useful and has given everyone some additional ideas. And as I said earlier, please do feel free to sort of come to us and ask us how we can help you. We also help with sort of looking at your business as a whole and seeing where else we can help you with technology, because technology is core of any business these days. And if that is not working correctly, you will struggle with growing and using the technology. Obviously, as Yuri has mentioned, security is a must, because if you want to be boosting your business, you don't want to have the handbrake on. You want to be able to go forward knowing that the basics of security and IT is in place there with you. So I'll just hand over back to Yuri for now. So thank you everyone for coming, and I'll hand back to Yuri.
Nice one. Yeah, thanks, Damien. It was awesome. Appreciate you taking the time to walk us through your big brain project. That was cool to see. I will come up with a couple of other ideas for you. Maybe sneak in a couple more holidays than Kat granted me originally. We'll see. I do appreciate you participating today in general, and thanks for attending to our wonderful guests. If there are any other questions that you want to pop by or want to let us know, just send an email to team@iqnit.uk. We also have a book an appointment or get in touch button on our homepage. So if you go to iqnit.uk, in the top right corner, you will, I know for you it's top right there, this way, you will see a book a call, I think button it's called, and you can get a hold of Kat or of me right away, so we can sit together, discuss what you want to get out of your current setup, and just make sure that you make the best use of technology that you already spend your money on anyway. So yeah, thank you everybody, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.